In this video, we're going to talk a little bit about documentation and back office controls. This is the materials and labors part of the T&M. Basically, if it isn't tracked, it isn't billable. So in other words, if it isn't documented, it did not happen, is what we all talk about in this industry. So with time and material, you got to take that to the nth degree. If you're used to doing typical residential work and using some of the other estimating platforms that are out there that are square foot, linear foot, cubic foot type of programs, time and material is a lot more detailed documentation, and is actually the time and the materials and the equipment that you used on a daily basis. So basically, you're going to have to track all labor, and that's all staff must clock in and out. We highly recommend to use the actual capture portion of Helix Code, especially if they're on the job site. And if they're not on the job site, it's back office, and they can utilize the standard timesheet format as a documentation, and then you can manually clock them in and clock them out of the system, or they can clock in and clock out. But I highly recommend for validation that you use the QR code section for the Helix Code login. So basically what that does is it's going to capture the photo, it's going to capture the geolocation, and it's going to capture a digital signature of each worker. There was no arguing that they were on the job site. So when they clock in and clock out, and if you make them clock out for lunches and back in, every time you do that, it's going to show where they were when they clocked in and clocked out. Really eliminates the need for any other third party to be there to count your workers, because you got validation that they were all there and on site. There's no way to lie about it. It's going to use their phone's location, or if you even have to set up an iPad for everyone to utilize to clock in and clock out, which we have some contractors do. It's really going to make everything simple and easy to basically prove that they were there. The next thing is job diaries. I highly recommend that anyone that is a certified tech and above basically do a job diary every single day. And then project managers and up, so basically are going to do a project manager summary report, okay? But everybody that is like a certified technician, sometimes even your skilled labor guys, if they're doing specific projects, I highly recommend that you have them fill out the job diary that basically covers what and where they did what each single day. This validates their pay scale, okay? And this also basically allows your supervisors to document where his team was at and who all made up his team. It's really awesome to basically have that documentation when someone questions, did you really need this many skilled laborers? Well, yeah, we had a bunch of guys with saws, cutting out walls and, putting up structure, whatever the case may be. The other thing that's great is with our photo section, if you take all your photos within the Helix Code app, it is going to basically document everything. So what I highly recommend is that you take a picture of the room, and then you take a picture of each piece of equipment, so you get an overall view that shows all the equipment of the room. Then you can go up and get a closer view of that piece of equipment, and then you're also going to grab a photo of the barcode, QR code, if you have those on your equipment, or at a minimum the serial numbers that are on the back of the equipment or wherever it's located. The great thing about this is that it's going to give you the full documentation and validation that that piece of equipment was there. It's going to show that who took the photo, what time and date they took that photo, and it's going to give the location of where that photo was taken. Even our offline mode basically helps capture the geoloc coordinates. It's going to be more GPS coordinates at that point versus an address, but it still allows you to prove that you were there and that that piece of equipment was there. You can also capture video or anything else that you may want to do in order to prove that the fans are turning and things are on, whatever the case may be. And then logistics, if you're going to travel and you're going out of town, you want to track things port to port. If you're also having your contract to pay your workers for a travel time, then you can create like a different job division within Helix Code, and you can have them clock in and clock out of that during their drive times. So it's going to show when they leave their hotel, when they arrive at the job site, and then at the end of the day, when they're going back to the hotel, it'll show that they're clocked in at the job site and then clocked out back at the exact same hotel. These are great things when it comes to validating your bill for consultants and adjusters. So these logs justify everything from your labor ratios, which is very important, and we'll talk about later. Your equipment counts and the high standards that are required by auditors, especially if you're doing any kind of government or FEMA related work.